Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's keep working. Okay, the next portion of our agenda is citizens' comments, and we have a couple who want to come forward. This is an opportunity for people to come forward to address items that are not on the agenda. And our first request comes from Mark Charvat.
Mark Charvat, 102 Cobblestone Trail, DeKalb. I kind of like Mr. Roberts' comments, reform DeKalb. It's something we may want to look into here in the future. The purpose of my comments here this evening is to talk about the DeKalb Board of Elections home rule hearing that was held back on February 2nd, 2009. The city of DeKalb not only has a budget crisis, but I believe we have a serious ethics crisis, and much of this crisis is seated right here in front of us. Not all, but much. Back in early February, the City of DeKalb Board of Elections met to rule on the home rule petition challenge brought forth by 2 DeKalb citizens. Now, upon reflection and review of the proceedings, I'm convinced this hearing was fatally flawed and causes me to question the ethics of those involved. Now, a little background to the audience, the folks watching at home, and the taxpayers, most importantly, and everybody in this chamber. The electoral board included Acting Mayor Povlsen, 4th Ward Alderman Donna Gorski, and City Clerk Donna Johnson. A quick side note to the 6th Ward residents, your alderman, Mr. Baker, was supposed to sit on this panel as senior alderman, but was conveniently out of town when the important meeting took place. So it's a shame, Mr. Baker. I kind of wish you were there for the hearing. A little background, back on January 10th, a meeting of the City Council and Citizens Advisory Committee took place, at which all 3 electoral board members were present at this meeting. And it was suggested at this meeting that losing home rule powers could be detrimental to the city. Now, can anybody else see the ethics cloud starting to form? Now, a little background on the process here. Acting Mayor Povlsen was quoted in the January 21st edition of the Daily Chronicle saying that he supports home rule, but that he was worried the campaign to get signatures was a fearful campaign, not based on fact. Those his exact quotes in the Daily Chronicle. A fearful campaign, not based on facts. Now, with all this said, all this was said and done, I should say, prior to the Board of Elections hearing. Based on those remarks, and I wrote a letter to this effect, that was published in the Daily Chronicle, Mr. Povlsen should have recused himself from the panel, but he didn't. Mr. Povlsen has constantly argued that this ruling would be based on the merits of the case. Well, let's put this quickly into layman's terms. Let's say you're a defendant sitting in a court of law, and the judge in the hearing made disparaging remarks about you in the press prior to the trial. Do you think you could get an unbiased hearing? I don't think so. Whether you agree or disagree with the outcome of the hearing is not the issue. It's the process that I'm questioning here. I think it's high time for the community to know that we have an ethics drought in the city government. Mr. Acting Mayor, I believe you owe the community an apology. Now, 782 petition signers, all registered voters in this community, were cheated out of a fair hearing, I believe. As a result, I am formally requesting that the City Council add to its agenda in the future a proposal to seek a binding referendum to be voted on by the citizens of DeKalb as to whether the City of DeKalb shall remain a home rule community in the next election cycle that is permitted by Illinois state statute. Now, it was commented in the election board hearing that nobody has brought this up to the council. I'm officially presenting this for your consideration. I'm requesting this item be added to the DeKalb City Council agenda no later than December 31st, 2009, and that the date of the meeting be established and set forth by the City Council by June 30th, 2009. Thank you for hearing me.
I do feel I need to respond to that, since there, as usual from you, Mark, some very serious allegations that are unfounded. I sought legal advice as to whether or not I could recuse myself, and maybe I can have the city attorney talk about this. And there are times that I should and legally am obligated to recuse myself, and there are times when I cannot recuse myself. From a legal standpoint, from the state of Illinois as well as my own legal advice, it was not an option that I recuse myself. And in fact, I would have been negligent and been negligent of my duties as appointed mayor here to follow through with that. And for that reason, we had a hearing, we heard the evidence, and the facts spoke for themselves. Okay.